Fulham 1, Manchester United 1, and we start another match video disappointed, but in a different way to last week. Last week we were disappointed because we felt we deserved more. We should have beat Arsenal despite losing the match 1-0. This week I'm disappointed because I feel lucky that my side managed to secure a 1-1 draw with Fulham. And it's really frustrating because I actually think Manchester United started the game really well. I think for the first 10 minutes we were bright, we were on the front foot. Probably 10-15 minutes, if we're being true. I think United started the game really well. We started the game on the front foot, and I was excited. It was like we carried over what we saw against Arsenal into the start of this game. Runners off of the ball, players going in all sorts of different directions. You got Dorgu could stretch in behind, Mount and Cunha were doing it, but also some really good link work. I think Cunha and Mount, again, some of their combination play is absolutely brilliant. You know, when these two get close to each other, they start combining and they start to carry the ball in this left half space. I think they're very, very dangerous. Of course, we can get Bruno Fernandes involved as well. United started fast. We started on the front foot. We were getting into good areas. However, despite getting into these good positions, we didn't really make that much of it. I've seen a lot of people saying that if we took our early chances, it would have been a very different match. And I agree, we started very fast. We started very well, and I was excited. I was enjoying the early performance. I thought we looked dangerous, but I don't know that we looked like scoring. Apart from that ball over the top from Bayindir to Cunha, which was a really good opportunity, but also a difficult one. Outside of that, I didn't really feel that United were missing chances. If you look at the XG from the shots in the first 20 minutes or so, there wasn't exactly a standout opportunity that Manchester United, missed an absolute sitter. Of course, later on, we missed a penalty from Bruno Fernandes. But despite starting the game fast, I don't know that we created loads, despite being in the front foot and being in good positions. I think the better thing was the intensity, the sharpness, the fact that these players looked like they know what they were doing. They were in close proximity with each other. We could get Mbeumo on the ball. We could get Cunha, Mount, Fernandes, Dorgu, even Ahmad on the right-hand side. We could get all of these guys on the ball in good positions. So it was a good start, but I don't know that it was amazing because we still didn't create much, and then it just got worse. Now, the reason why the game sort of suddenly changed for Manchester United is because of a thing called momentum. We all know in football matches, it flows. You have spells where it's really fast, spells where it's really slow, spells where the home team are really dominant, and then the away team are dominant, and then it's really cagey for a patch. It flows, it changes, the tempo changes, the intensity changes. But what the best teams in football do is they manage that flow as much as possible. They dictate when it speeds up and when it slows down. The problem is, around the 20th minute here, Manchester United didn't control the momentum. So we started fast and had something to build upon. After that first 20, I was confident that United would go on to win the game because we could build on that start that we had had. The problem is the defensive structure. It was very, very poor in this game. And what that does is it gives Fulham the opportunity to gain some momentum. And I say this all the time. In the Premier League, the quality is far too high to let teams get on the ball and get back into the game. If you're going to start fast, like we did in the first 20, first of all, you've got to punish teams, but also you've got to keep it up. You can't just do it for 20 minutes. And in order to keep it up, in order to maintain the intensity, what you have to do is defend well. You have to press well high up the pitch to stop the opposition getting on the ball. The second the opposition get on the ball, the home crowd get a little bit more excited, the players get a bit more confident on the ball, and that's when things can start to go wrong. Now, if we're looking at Fulham, we've got them initially sort of in this back five formation here, although to be honest, it would be wrong just to put them in one shape because they flowed really nicely. Sometimes it was a back five like this with the two wing backs, but on other occasions, Bassi would move all the way out to left back, and it would actually switch more to a back four like this, and Sessegnon could go forward, or it could go the other way. But that's not the most important thing today. The most important thing is that Manchester United didn't defend it very well. And the high press was not particularly high, not really a press, certainly not as a collective unit. So what we saw was Manchester United in the back five, as usual, with Ahmad and Dorgu as the wing-backs on this occasion. And then we got Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes in midfield. What we've got in front of that is Mason Mount, Cunha and Mbeumo. And the way that this worked in terms of structure was they sort of swapped into more of a one behind the front two. So it could be Mount going deeper than Cunha and Mbeumo, or it could be Cunha going deeper than Mount and Mbeumo like this. The point is, what United are trying to do is get these two players here on the two Fulham centre-backs, and then we've got Cunha is going to tie up Sander Berge in midfield. The problem is, as you can see, there's a big space over here for Sessegnon and a big space over here for Tete. And you would think, logically, the job was for the wing-backs to come and close that down. The problem is, it's so far, and at times, they're not there at all. This, for me, really was the problem with the Manchester United performance. It's all well and good starting fast, but if you let the opposition back into the game, you are asking for trouble. We can see Manchester United in that sort of 1 and then a 2. So it's Mason Mount behind Mbeumo and Cunha, and you can see what we're trying to do. We're trying to match up with these guys here. But what are we doing here? How are we matching up with Tete here, the fullback? We're not. Patrick Dorgu eventually gets there, but this takes a good couple of seconds for Dorgu to get there. Because he's playing as a wing-back, he's got so far to jump because he started in a really deep position. And when you let a Premier League footballer stop and get his head up like this, it's a problem. It's far too much time. Players have the quality to hurt you. And this is something that we saw throughout the game. Again, Manchester United in that 1 and then the 2. This time Cunha is the 1. Mount and Mbeumo are the 2. But you guys can probably already see where this ball is going to go, right? Out there. Out there. That ball is going to get played to the right-hand side, to the Fulham right back once again. And this time, Dorgu's not even in shot. We don't get close to it. Now, unfortunately, the rest of the video from here is just continued negatives. I don't think there was anything particularly good about the last 80 minutes of this performance. And because of United's poor defensive structure, the passive defensive structure, it had knock-on effects, and we got worse and worse, and we got deeper and deeper, and we got more and more outplayed. So because the wing-backs are struggling to jump, that means they often tuck a bit deeper into the back 5 with the 3 centre-backs and the 2 wing-backs. The problem now is we are quite clearly outnumbered. Let me just quickly do this. Let's just do that. The Manchester United players have no chance. What are Mount, Cunha and Mbeumo supposed to do? They're hard-working players. They're good signings, the 2 of them that we brought in. Mount is a good player. He sort of rediscovered himself. Great footballers individually. They're 3 players that will press pretty hard as well. But what are they supposed to do here? They can't do anything. So the problem is Manchester United are completely outnumbered in the first phase. Completely outnumbered and can't get any pressure on the ball. If we're going to be outnumbered there in the first phase, what we then need to do is make sure that we are good in our block. Our block needs to be good. If we're outnumbered in the first phase, we at least need to be able to defend the next part of the pitch. So as, let's move these again. As all of these guys just come further forward and Fulham are now getting themselves on the ball, what United need to do is be solid defensively. You can probably tell by my tone, though, that we weren't. And that's because Fulham just always had an overload, because Manchester United only had 2 central midfielders in the middle of the park, and Fulham always had at least 3, sometimes 4. So it could be Sander Berge, Lukic and King overloading in these positions, creating that 3 versus 2. But more often than that, actually, King would move a little bit further forward, and as Sessegnon would arrive into the attacking position, Iwobi would move inside. And, this is a simple game. It's almost a game of maths, if you like, in this position here. If Fulham have 3 and Manchester United have 2, Fulham are going to be able to find the free man, because the front 3 have now been taken out of the game. The wing-backs are unable to attach themselves and help because they're being pinned back, and we often see games from United centre-backs where they are unable to connect into the midfield. So Yoro is unable to connect to Iwobi to make this a 3 versus 3. So he is attached deeper on the back line. So on the back line over here, Manchester United are essentially 5 versus 4. So we've got more players there. Sometimes actually it's 5 versus 3. But that does mean we are heavily outnumbered in these positions. And when you've got players like Bruno, who want to sort of go and press, they want to engage the ball, it leaves you being picked off a little bit. Because as Bruno sort of feels that he can go and press, they just play rounds. Now, in that little talk there, I made it sound really easy, and normally what I would say is those were just counters on a board, right? It's much more difficult than that on a football pitch. But on this occasion, it wasn't. It was very, very easy for Fulham. You can see here, it's a clear 3 versus 2. And our 2 is Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro. And like I said, Bruno Fernandes is a player that likes to gamble and anticipate. Casemiro is not exactly the quickest player on the planet. So to put them at a numerical inferiority, it's a problem. We have less players than Fulham here. And the 2 players we've got are not ideal for these situations. So, of course, Fulham being a good football team are going to be able to move the ball around us. It's a very simple pass, and then they are just at our defensive 5. But it's because we've got the defensive 5 why it's so easy. Because these 5 are so deep, the midfield 2 are outnumbered and just played around incredibly easily. We've got another situation here. 3 Fulham central midfielders. This is Iwobi joining in midfield for Fulham and just hurting Manchester United, just hurting United in these positions. It's far too easy for Fulham to find a spare man, and the reason they were able to find a spare man was because the defence is so deep. Here we've got Bruno Fernandes actually making a back 6. Now, of course, United aren't helped by an absolute collection of individual errors for the goal that we concede. First of all, I'm not particularly sure what Diogo Dalot is trying to do here. I don't know why he's trying to turn out from the back. Then, as a result, we don't have players in deep enough positions, and Bumo is too far up the pitch. He's not helping defensively, so Dalot is in a 1 versus 2. He's in a little bit of trouble. And he really is in trouble, because his defending to stop the cross is non-existent. Really, like, completely non-existent. He is miles away from the ball when Iwobi crosses it. So I don't know what's going on there. Then we've got De Ligt in the middle. That's his space that he should be defending at the front post. And I think in his head, he does. He almost defends his player. His Fulham player was marked. He managed to get him out of the way, and therefore, job done. But it's almost like he forgot that other players could come in around the back post and put the ball into the back of the net. So this was also particularly bad. Now, I'm sorry to be so negative about this performance. I like to feel that usually I can bring you guys some positives, but I just didn't see many in this football match apart from the bright start from the attacking trio. After that, it was just poor. I mean, Lenny Yoro is very good at football. That's fun. But collectively as a team, it's still not working. And we have to look at Ruben Amorim. We have to look at him. Because for me, as a Manchester United fan, and I'm well aware of the fact that we're not the team that we once were. We're not the team that we were 15 years ago. I understand that. But for me, we're Manchester United. We're 1-1 with Fulham in the second game of the season. We cannot finish the football match with that starting 11 on the pitch. It's unacceptable to play 5 defenders plus a holding midfielder when we're 1-1 against Fulham. For me, that really shows a trait of Ruben Amorim. It's a trait of the manager, and it's something that we saw throughout the match. Amorim is just too passive in these moments. The 11 at the end reflects that, but so does the shape that we saw throughout the game. It's too defensive, it's too passive. Last week, the reason why United were good was because we played on the front foot. We asked Arsenal questions. This week, it was Fulham asking all of the questions, and United didn't really have the answers, apart from a bit of luck with a set piece from Lenny Yoro and just some poor play by Fulham. Ultimately, I think they should have done more to beat us. Fulham should have been better. Tactically, they overwhelmed us. If individually they played better, they should have won this football match. Overall, you can probably tell by my tone that I am just disappointed with that performance. I really don't think there was anything good. But I also don't think there was anything new either. You know, these weren't new problems. They're things that we've seen before. So there really isn't too much more to discuss. So for me, personally, what I'm going to do is try and forget that this match ever happened and just carry on with life and hope that it improves against Grimsby and Burnley. If not, you know, maybe do we have to start asking questions? I don't know. I don't want to get to that point yet. But that wasn't a good enough performance. And if it was a one-off, second game of the season, you hold your hand up and go, second game of the season, sometimes these things happen. We have teething issues early in the season. Players aren't fit. It's fine. The problem is, in the back of our minds, we've all got that history of 7 months of last season where we saw the exact same thing. And that's what raises questions a little bit and gets alarm bells ringing. We have to fix it at Manchester. Something has to change there. Tactically, Amorim needs to change to get this team more proactive, more on the front foot on a regular basis, particularly when we're playing the likes of Fulham. No disrespect to Fulham. They played a good game. They're a good team. They got a good manager. I'm just annoyed at the Manchester United performance, so I'm going to stop the video there. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video just a little bit more than what you did the performance. If you have, if you could please leave a like, subscribe, that would be absolutely amazing. And hopefully as the season goes on, we can watch something a little bit better and bring more positive videos. That's the plan, that's the dream. Will it happen? We'll just have to wait and see. For now, I'll see you in the next one.